Today's project will require the use of your colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a piece of white paper. Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky back for another art project. Today I'm going to introduce you to an art form called quilling. Quilling is when you take a little thin piece of paper and you wrap it around a tool, looks like this, and you create an artwork that looks something like this. This is a card my little sister got for me. And each leaf is a wrapped piece of paper or each petal and each leaf as well. And it's glued to a flat piece of paper to give a three-dimensional kind of effect to the form. You can see it's got depth to it as well. But we're not going to roll paper today. I can show you how the technique is done, but you have to have a special little tool to do it effectively. To curl paper like that and put it in a shape, you get one of these little quilling tools, which has a slit in the end of it, and you slide this thin strip of paper. You could cut a piece of paper yourself. It could be colorful or plain or whatever. And then you just wrap it. When you pull it off, you have this perfect little coil. Can you see that? Now, once you have this little coil, you can kind of open it up and loosen it up. Ooh, it springs forward. Ooh, so it's springing wider and wider as I let go of the tension on there. And I can make it a lot bigger or smaller depending on how much I let it release. I can use my fingers to kind of shape it into an oval, or I could pinch the top and make it more like that sunflowers had in its petals. It had a point on the top and a rounded bottom like a raindrop. See that? And then I just take some glue and I stick it down on a piece of paper. Today, we're not going to actually do the three-dimensional quilling art. We're going to do something called faux quilling. Now, faux is a word that means false in French. So anytime you say faux, you're meaning it's kind of a pretend version of something. So I could say faux marble, and that would mean I was making it look like it was a sculpture out of marble, but instead I was probably drawing little cracks to make it look like it was marble, but not really marble. So faux means fake, not real. So we're doing faux quilling today. The artist we're going to study today is very important to me because she's my great aunt. Her name is Roberta Mustacich, and she used to live in Santa Barbara, California. The kind of art she did was watercolor and oil paintings. Our principle of art today is movement, and our element of art today is line. And I think this painting is an excellent example of how you can use line to show a sense of movement. I want you to notice how in this scene, there's several lines that are noticeable in the fishing net. Do you see how a line moves through the center of the net and goes up towards the upper corner, and another one is the next layer above? These are the ropes that make an old-fashioned kind of fishing net like this. Do you notice how these lines curve upward and these curve upward as the fishermen are gathering their nets full of fish? You can see that's a sense of movement. So these fishing lines curve towards them as they're pulling them in. They're pulling in their catch. The other thing that I love that she does here is, does this shape of line remind you of anything? Watch how it curves up and it kind of even swirls into the sun. That line continues even into that sunlight. Here, the line swirls around and curves around the sun. What does that remind you of? Does it remind you of any particular line? What it reminds me of is a wave of the ocean. I came across an artist named Svetlana Danilova who does quilling and sells her work online. And one of the pieces of artwork she did for quilling was a boat on water. And this boat it looks like it's moving through the water. So we're going to study the principle of design, movement, how you can use something like the lines in quilling and create a sense of movement. Here's an example. My daughter Grace did a faux quilling. She picked up on this ship theme, but she made it a pirate ship. I love that. She's got the skull and crossbones. I like how she created a watery background, but she used just black to make her swirls. I thought that was an interesting effect she chose to do. Now you can see Lizzie's even closer, how she did in each of those petals. There's a quilling shape, that circle. We have our piece of paper. We're going to put it in portrait orientation up and down because we want lots of room to have those swirls from the sea. Okay, to create a simple sailboat in the middle of your paper, what we're going to do is create an angled line like this. This is the bow of the boat, the front of the boat, kind of comes like an angle. And then we go straight across to create the top of the boat. And then we're going to go straight down to create the back of the boat. So pretty simple shape. And right across the water, just like that. There is our boat. Now our boat needs to have a mast, and that's that piece of wood in the middle. It's going to go right through the middle. At the front of the boat, we're going to have a larger sail. Larger sail is a triangle. So we're just going to kind of take that triangle down. It doesn't have to be a perfect triangle because the wind might make it flutter a little bit. There we go. So triangle pointing this way. And we have another triangle, maybe a smaller one in the back of the boat, or about the same size, doesn't really matter. And there's the other one. I'm going to choose 3 bluish colors for my water, 3 cool colors. I got purple and blue and light blue. I'm going to use those for my swirls for the water. I'm going to do some pretty big swirls to really catch everybody's eye looking at this, to create that movement. I'm going to go kind of loose. You could create tighter ones too, but I'm going to make these a pretty big swirls here right at the bottom. These are the ones that are going to be drawing everybody's eye. Counterclockwise is when it goes opposite direction from the way a clock moves. So there we go. And I'm going to make a little tail go down just like that to make your eye follow it, that sense of movement we're talking about. Follow that line all the way up to the boat and swirl around at the boat. I want to create another big one right next to it. But this one's going to go in the same direction a clock goes, so clockwise. So I'm going to go in a circle, the same direction the hands of a clock move to the right, round and round. So I try to make my circles different directions. Some of them are going to go clockwise, some of them are going to go counterclockwise. There, I got my 2 big swirls coming up from the bottom of the sea underneath the boat. Now we get to just fill it in with all sorts of other swirls. And they don't have to have tails, and they can be tighter, they can be looser, they can go up behind the boat a little bit, they can go up in front of the boat a bit to show the splashing water. Some can be big, some can be small. I don't think I'll make any of them quite as big as the 2 main ones. I really want those to be the center of attention. I don't want anything else to distract from those. Focal point. These 2 are kind of a focal point, drawing your eye up. I'm going to try to create sort of a V shape going down to the ocean to kind of draw your eye up, the line of all of them together up to the ship. Maybe put some that go up a little bit higher than the boat, showing splashes of water, give them some tails that flick water up behind and in front of the boat. You can color the boat however you want. I'm going to do more of these faux quilling swirls. I'm going to use the warm colors this time. Since I used cool colors for the water, I'll use a red and orange and yellow inside this boat. For your sails and your mast, you can outline them with black if you want to just have white sails stick out, but I wanted to use greens because I think I wanted to use every color in my box, except for brown. I guess I could have added brown to the boat, but I'm using 2 different color greens. I decided to make the dark green go counterclockwise and the light green to go clockwise, just so I had some variety in color and in the direction of the line. It's a very colorful sailboat. That's it. It's done. Wait, we need a sunshine, and I think it needs to be a big swirled circle. Thanks for joining me for art today. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed learning about quilling, and maybe you'll take a chance and someday try it yourself.